But there's people that will do that.
Yeah.
And if they can get something from them, you know, and that's what we have to be wary of.
Usually they're unaware.
Exactly. Stay woke. Know what you know.
Know what you know.
I'm a goofy goober! You're a goofy goober! We're all goofy goobers!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 16th podcast. I'm your host, Cal, along with the other co-host, Cole. And today we're going to be talking about how do you know that you know, right? And a lot of times, like, let me back up a second. So, I texted Cole about this a couple weeks ago, maybe like a week ago.
It was like last week before Tyson.
Yeah, Tyson Fury fight. And we it was in my philosophy class, and kids were just going back and forth about this subject, and like, oh my god, bro, like, you know, the neurons were flying. Like, you just, like, when you got out of class, you were just like, not like mind blown, but you just wanted to keep thinking about it, right? And so, pretty much, the validation of, like, checking yourself, like, and checking, like, how you know that you know things, and, like, it's really interesting because a good point the professor brought up in class was, like, we become so convinced that we know things, right? And we become so infatuated with our own understanding of the world, right? And so, for example, like Socrates, back when he was trying to develop, like, a science of the virtues, right? So pretty much like a universal code for morality, right? And it has not been discovered. It probably will never be discovered because, like, some moral theories in certain situations get really hairy. And so, kind of
like the go-to is the train paradox or whatever. You know, like, there's, like, one person on this train or on this side of the tracks and four people on the other one.
Yeah. We brought that up in class that day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like that's kind of the the moral paradox. It's like, who are you to decide whose life is worth less?
Yeah, definitely.
And, like, there's so many variables. Like, what if that guy's a doctor and these poor people are criminals? You know, it's like it's the same thing. It's like, how do you know what's right?
Yeah, definitely. And so, kind of just go back to, like, that Socrates example. Pretty much, he figured out, so after, like, coming up with, like, a whole bunch of just different, like, equations, I guess you could say. I remember, because this was back in my ancient Greek philosophy class, he came up with virtue equals the knowledge of good and bad, right? And so, pretty much what he was doing, he would call it, like, his alenkos, right? And so, pretty much, it's pretty much just like the scientific method, right? So you start off with a situation, like a claim, and you break. You good?
No, just fucking, my eyes are watering because it's fucking not blinking and staring at fucking screens and papers all day.
Fair enough.
Fucking calculus can fuck off, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, so pretty much, and like he would run through every single situation with people he knew in Greece, right? Like saying, and no one could refute it, right? Like none of the best scholars he went up to could refute. Like, okay, having the knowledge of good and bad is what virtue is, right? And it's viable in every single situation. And now, I don't remember the exact example where it was refuted, but he ended up, so the teacher ended up taking that, like, equation, right, like virtue equals the knowledge of good and bad in, like, these various situations, and pretty much applied it to another, like, perspective, and it refuted the example, right? But Socrates was convinced that, at least from my understanding, he was, like, convinced, like, that was it. Like, that was virtue equals knowledge of good and bad. But, like, as it was compared over time, what do you know? It was not true. So, and in that example, right, you can convince yourself so much that you know something, but there's always so many perspectives. And, like, since this is, like, an ever-changing... Oh, shit. Goddamn rock!
Rogue elbow hitting the soul rock.
There's so many perspectives. There's so many... like, variables that you have to account for. Like, nothing is absolute. Like, even though, like, we may be so convinced, there might be something out there that we are not sure of, even though, like, we take it to be true. I'm not saying, like, obviously, like, 1 + 1 = 2, closed questions like that, obviously, they're universal, you know, things we can see, like, I get that. But I'm just saying, there's a lot of variables, and there's a lot of moving parts that we need to consider.
And I'm going to go back to, like, the whole, like, universal thing. It's like... Neil deGrasse Tyson brought up a great point. It's like if we were to interact with like alien life or like something extraterrestrial, like a higher advanced society, there's no language barrier. So, or like there's no mutual language. So we would have to, like he said, we should communicate via the laws of physics. Because if they are to be correct, these are all constants in the universe.
Okay.
So, if we know, and we are a developed society, then they must also know if they are a developed society. Now, the varying degrees by which they affect this alien race are to be determined, but the core is still there.
Yeah.
You know, like...
You can measure them. You can translate it in some
exactly.
way.
It's like, hey, we got gravity. You got gravity. Maybe not the same type of gravity, but gravity is there.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, it's the same thing with kind of knowledge. It's like, if I talk to somebody, there's mutual points of contact.
Yeah.
And that's like, to a degree, that's where like the source of relationships are built between people. Like, you know, our mutual point of contact. We met through Jordan. You know, mutual point of contact, the gym. Mutual point of contact. We like talking about shit that makes people's lives better, you know.
And fighting.
And fighting. Fighting is a big one. But it's like these mutual points of contact and what forms relationships. But there's also the opposing view, which is equally as valuable. Because if you are surrounded by a bunch of people that tell you you're right all the time and agree with you, if you're surrounded by a bunch of yes men, you're not going to learn anything. That's straight up how it is.
Yeah.
Because it's and I try to surround myself with people who don't have, there are mutual points that we agree at, stuff we enjoy. But I also enjoy sharing the company of people that think sometimes the complete opposite of me. Even if, within reason, if it's I'm not going to be having a conversation seriously with a flat earther unless I'm under the influence of some...
Or they got some fucking legitimate evidence.
Yes, exactly.
That is still not...
yes.
Not a thing.
Yeah, but it's
Give it 20.
I don't know too much as far as, a good before I didn't really have a lot of friends of the LGBTQ community, and now I have more friends in that community, and I value their opinion because they have experiences that I do not have, and they are a source of knowledge. That's why it's that's why I can never really understand racism. How can you hate another group of people so much when they think completely different than you? Do you know how much knowledge there is potentially there in that group of people?
That's bad.
I'm going to go with the example. There's probably shit most black people know that we have no idea is going on.
Yeah.
Hispanic people is a big one, but that's that's different. For me, that's I know a little bit more about that than most people, but I'm not from the homeland, so I don't know as much. So it's how can you hate these people if you don't recognize how much they have to offer? And every group will have a bad apple. It is inevitable. But the point is not the bad apple. It's about the juiciness of knowledge that is in the ripe ones. So it's that's why I don't necessarily understand why that's the thing. And it's it's very, we are privileged to be able to see, talk about this. There's a lot of people get fucked up by racism.
Yeah, people get killed over talk. Well, people get killed by racism and get killed by talking about shit like this. In other countries, fucking North Korea.
China.
Yeah, China. We're very lucky. We're very privileged to be in the position we're at. And, you brought up a really good example. I don't think we've ever talked about, I'm sure we've, pointed towards racism, and, prejudice and stuff like that. But, society was set up for the white man. So the society we're in right now, the free, or not free man's, capitalistic liberalism society we live in today, neoliberalism, neo-capital, whatever the fuck you want to call it, corporatism, I don't care, whatever. It was set up for the white male to exceed, and okay, you might be okay, Cal, how do you know that? And so, like, I took a moral issues class over the summer, right?
There's also the numbers. The numbers do show.
So exactly. Yeah, no, this is objective research, right? And it's like, how do you know that you know, right? You got to check the facts, right?
Yeah.
And, like, don't get me wrong. Like, the facts, like, you look at, like, a research paper, right? A peer-reviewed research paper. Like, it is not 100% set in stone, but it is the best direction towards the truth, right? Like, it's not 100% unless it's been repeated, like, so many times, you know, like, things such as, like, working out or eating healthy boosts your immune system, like, or obesity, like, leads to shortened lifespans, like that. Those are proven things that
leads to a smaller dick.
Yeah, leads to a smaller dick, right? And so pretty much, like,
Don't know if that's true, but from what I've heard, people that like.
all right, I don't know about that.
But sidetrack here. I've heard it's like you're fucking when you're not as big of a human with your your schlong looks a little longer. Like it's like every 10 pounds is an inch or something like that. But it's it's funny shit.
You won't be able to see your peen
Yeah.
anymore. But it's like things like that. You got to check the research, right? Check the facts. Put your biases, put your opinions, your emotions to the side. And to hit back on racism, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Before the summer, like, I knew racism was an issue, right? Like, obviously, everyone in America is aware of the foundation that we were built on slavery, right?
Yeah.
Like, and things like that. Like, well, like, in the society we're in, right? Like, as a white individual, right? I am best suited within this system, parameters within this system, right? Mm-hmm. Individuals of the color of white have a much better chance to have access to treatment, to resources, opportunities, like a lot of things, right? There's a big advantage. Like, obviously, I don't know everything, but pretty much another thing I wanted to, like, just kind of, like, touch on real fast, because it is such a fascinating topic that the media really doesn't cover and doesn't really dive into. It's like these individuals are already so disadvantaged, right? Like, people of color are already so disadvantaged, right? Because, like, you can look at, like, the welfare system or, like, the support system, like that.
Yeah.
That, like, the government,
the immigration system
that society provides, and they're not sufficient enough to help them get off their feet, right? And so they're already at a disadvantage because the system's not set up for them to succeed. And so, like, when they receive help, it becomes even worse, right? And so to make ends meet, they turn to things like drugs. They turn to things like
crime,
not like illegal ways of, like, wealth. You know what I mean? And so through that, like, you see the crime raise up, right? And so, what do you know?
Within these specific areas, within these
exactly. When these specific locations, right? When these, like, Detroit, Hartford, like, big cities like that. And so, what do you know? You look from, like, I think it's like 1970 to present day, the jail population has fucking skyrocketed, right? It's like fucking tripled or something like that. I don't know if it's like, what, like 3.5 million or something like that. Maybe it's even like above 10 million. Like, I'm sorry, I don't. It's been a couple months, but it is, and the majority of those individuals are of black color. You know what I mean? But what do you know? Individuals, I think there's like 12.5% black individuals within the United States. It's not. It doesn't match the statistics, right? And so, kind of on that basis, you look and you see, like, these presidents were focused on the individual, right? They were focused on how, they thought the problem was with the individual, but the problem was with the system, right? The system and how it was set up. And so, but people are they believe that changes can't be made to the system, right? Like, same thing with Socrates, same thing with what we were saying, right? Like, this is the way of life. This is the way the life has to be, right? You're in your comfort zone. You're not used to things changing, right? But what if, what if change did happen, right? And this is like what society is starting to change now, right? And, like, don't get me wrong. Once again, I'm not an expert in this area, but I'm just expressing my opinion. Society is starting to change, and suffering is the greatest teacher, as Buddha said, right? And so, before shit gets really great, shit's got to get bad first, right? And we're in the healing process right now, right? And so shit's continuing to get worse. You can see it with COVID, right? And, like, you can see
the fuckery that happened in 2020.
In 2020,
everything fucked happened in 2020.
But once again, you got to be, just like, I know I went through a very lengthy example right there, but you got to be aware, like, and Cole pointed out too, like, be willing to step outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Be willing to be open-minded to the fact that one, you can't control reality, and two, that change is going to happen whether you fucking like it or not, right? And so, the more open we become, the more willing we see, the more willing we are to enact that change.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you believe in it, can really make a difference. And how you check that, like you check yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like you check your frame of reference and how you know things, and you really step outside your comfort zone. A lot of things will start to benefit a lot of people besides yourself.
Mm-hmm. And like that's like going back to what you said. Oh, first of all, PSA. You know, I'm giving the warning. What Cal was talking about. This is what we know. This is the information that we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
We're not professionals.
Yeah.
We're college students. Don't fucking cancel.
Okay.
But, you know, going back to what you're saying, it's like, yeah, there's too much. And a big thing about like today's problems, narrow-mindedness, huge, because everybody fucking pigeonholes into this concept where like they have this one idea, and that's all they're looking through. They're looking through that fucking keyhole.
That's all I know.
Because it's like, I'm a liberal dude. This is all I see. This is how I see the world. You know, I don't like this lens. Republicans racist. That's the lens. You know, and it's like on the other lens, liberal people, they're all gay. You know, or some shit like that. You know, whatever.
Oh my god,
You know,
that's
like,
awesome.
it's like
obviously not true.
yeah,
Okay,
but like there's fucking people in our society
yeah.
that live and think like that, and they're so out of touch. We are in the age of information, and you couldn't be more fucking stupid. Like, you can, because you can look up shit to refute the other side as opposed to looking up the other side. You can use this to look at, you know, hey, I don't understand this. Somebody brought up a point, let me check it. Not let me check how to refute it to win. Confirmation bias is destroying this fucking country. Because a lot of people are just taking in these little small bits of information.
Yeah.
You know, content here, content here, content here. And then they, like, all these algorithms and social media and stuff like that are catered to what you like. So they keep showing you what you like. And if what you like is, like, the liberal agenda or whatever, or, like, you know, like politics and shit, they're going to keep throwing that shit at you. And you're not going to learn anything on these platforms unless you make a conscious effort to do so. Yeah. Because it's like
you're searching for it.
Because it caters to what you want to see, and what you want to see might not always be right.
Thanks. Yeah, definitely.
And like that's the problem. It's like going back to how we know what we know. You don't know that you know unless other people confirm it. What gives it legitimacy?
The right people.
The right people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even question them,
Yeah.
right? Because doctors are wrong. Like, don't get me wrong. Doctors, they are, okay. Let me say experts, right?
Yes,
Experts in a very, I mean, there are doctors, like doctorates, but when I say doctors, it has like more of like a medical connotation to it. Experts within fields.
Same thing. There's mistakes everywhere.
Look at COVID-19 right now, right? Experts, right? Like, don't get me wrong, they're making a lot of good points, right? Like on media, like they're saying stay 6. Okay, I mean, maybe not right now, but like, okay. They're saying like 3 feet apart right now, or like take the vaccine. I don't really pay attention to it, but you know, like the fucking wash your hands, you know, like all that type of stuff. Dude,
shove everything down your throat,
bro. Like it is crazy because they don't talk about exercise. They don't talk about like healthy eating. They don't talk about all they talk about is the vaccine.
They don't talk about vitamin intake.
Yeah.
They don't talk about a consumption of water.
Yeah.
They don't talk
Obesity.
about hygiene. Yeah. Like these are all like. I didn't catch COVID-19. My uncle caught COVID-19.
I did too.
I knew from back when it was first started. I was going to the gym 5 days a week and hitting the sauna 2 days of the week. And then I take a cold shower in the morning. All of these things that I'm doing boost the immune system. Greater oxygenation in the blood, or oxygen levels in the blood from working out, doing cardio. Releasing different proteins and amino acids from the heat shock proteins in my body from doing the sauna, and then the cold shock proteins in the morning from taking the icy showers. You know, it's like these things are, and like and just my genetics. You know, like I am a fucking, you know, I haven't gotten sick in years because I'm healthy. You know, sure, I eat like ass every once in a while, but who fucking doesn't?
Yeah.
But it's, you know, you can't, number one, you can't think like a machine. That's a big thing. But sometimes, like, you gotta, and two, you can't act like one either. And you also can't be regurgitating information unless you have a point to do it. So, you know, like, that's what you see a lot of times. I talk about it. I talked about it on multiple episodes of the Punk Conscious Cast. The Instagram politician. Oftentimes, girls our age and younger, putting these guys too, putting up these political statements and stuff, and about shit that, number one, 9 times out of 10, they're catering towards an audience. Like they're trying to throw shit that they believe to feel more accepted in this movement. And for me, personally, I could give less of a fuck about how you feel about who's in the White House, as long as you're a good fucking human being.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure Joe Biden's like a well-intentioned guy. I mean, like, listen, I don't fucking know. Maybe he's a fucking reptile, like some people think he is. I don't believe it. Maybe he is.
Maybe he likes kissing babies a little too much. You know, like,
all right, whatever. Yeah, whatever. You name the rumor.
You name the conspiracy. There's probably a grain of truth.
But you know, it's like.
But yeah, it's like the same thing. It's like, you know, they're catering to this audience that will shower them with attention.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't, like they're not open-minded, and that's detriment to themselves.
Yeah.
Like Tinder is a big one. Like, now, don't get me wrong, the app is kind of a mess, but if you navigate it correctly, you will have success. Speaking from someone who's studied it, but nonetheless.
Studied the odds.
Studied the algorithm. But yeah. But like, here's the thing. It's like a lot of girls on Tinder will have in their bio, if you vote right, swipe left. Like, they're alienating people with opposing views from their life because they put this stamp on them and they put them in a box that they kind of fucking, and it goes on both sides too. It's like,
yeah,
like you're catering the people around you to a political movement. That's stupid. And frankly, I don't want anything to do with you if you do that anyway.
Yeah, there's like, it's, the issue's not black and white. You know what I mean?
It's not.
But that's how, it's like, don't get me wrong. Some issues, there are two sides, right? But that the media says like, oh, vaccinated, unvaccinated. You know, like, black, white, fucking Democrat, Republican. You know, it's like, it's always two. You know, like, don't get me wrong, there's more that are thrown in there.
Always two there are. No more, no less.
No less. And like, what do you know?
Thank
Divide
you.
and conquer.
Yeah.
Divide and fucking conquer. Like, and this is a big part to knowing how you know, right? Because if you see that everyone is focused on something, right, and then you take a step back, you'll be like, why? Like, okay, to be fair, there may be like a valid issue like everyone's focusing on, right? But like, for example, take Black Lives Matter, right? Good movement, not knocking it. I mean, there are obviously flaws within it, but
here's the thing. Good movement, and now I've seen this. You know, this is true. You could look this up. This is legit. The movement is good.
Yep.
The organization is bad. The organization is literally like Marxists or something.
Yeah.
It's some like really bad people funding the movement. So you're giving these like this figurehead that's like the organization. You're sending them money, but you're putting money in the pockets of potentially bad people because you didn't have to take the 2 seconds to check their intentions.
It's like, it's more so like the business side of it and like how that intertwines with the media and like, just kind of like that. But the people who are really trying to make a change.
Yeah, like the movements, like people on the street fucking, you know, now don't get me wrong, you can shake your signs all you want. I got no problem with it as long as it's a good thing. But if you're doing some stupid shit, I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah. But like, kind of going back to what I was saying, like the Black Lives Matter movement, like I remember everyone posted a picture of like a black, I think it was like Black Friday or something.
No, it was Blackout Friday. It was Blackout Tuesday.
Blackout Tuesday. I did not participate within that.
Me neither.
Does that make me racist? up to you to decide. I don't think I'm racist.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, no.
Like, don't get me wrong. There are like I have prejudices within me, like every other human being,
Yes.
right? And I'm aware of those, but if you act on those prejudices, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Right? But you kind of look back and you see, like, okay, everyone is doing something. Like, why is everyone Like, don't get me wrong, the message behind the Blackout Tuesday, I'm sure, was a valid one. But, like,
Yeah.
people took that, and let me
Yeah.
finish this if you don't mind. They were like, if you're not posting it, I'm unfollowing you, right? And, like, you should be doing this. Like, and I don't, people were doing it and they didn't even know like, what the message was.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
social pressure. It was like, to be accepted, you
Yeah.
have to do this. Because, like, all you would see scrolling through your Instagram, like, during, like, the Black Lives Matter 2019, right? Or 2020?
Something like
2020.
that. It got fucked up.
Yeah,
for
and
that.
it's like, you don't meet that standard, you're a bad person, right?
Yeah.
And but you got to take a step back and look at the other information. Why is this being plastered on everybody? Like, what are the interests
and
involved
like
in this?
I was like, don't get me wrong, I understand the necessity of the message, but it's like, I couldn't open Instagram without seeing some like radical, radicalized bullshit, and it's like there's people that are like, they take the good message and they latch onto it like a parasite. They're like, okay, I'll use this movement to get clout on my Instagram. I'll use this platform to get accepted by other people. I'll feign loyalty to people of higher status than me.
Using it as a means to an end.
Exactly. And then there's people that,
Not an end in itself.
and then there's the people that take it way too seriously. Or not way too, but
No,
like,
yeah,
they
yeah,
radicalize
yeah.
it and they're like, fuck white people,
It's like a spiritual ego. They put themselves above others, and they're like, okay, if you're not doing this, I'm better than you. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly. And it's like, always, all of these people that seek to hijack a movement, number one, like, a good amount of them are rooted in insecurity, and the others, like, possibly rooted in malicious intent.
They don't even really want to see that change happen. Like,
No.
like
Because here's the thing, it's wartime, it's war profiteering is what it is. It's like,
explain on that.
because it's like, I'm making money off of this, hijacking this message. I'm profiting, in whatever form it might be, from hijacking this message. I am getting something out of this horrible thing that this good movement is trying to prevent. But I don't want this movement to stop. So how about it's the whole feign loyalty thing. It's like, how about I act like I'm ready, but in the reality, I'm not going to do. I'm going to actually attempt to make the problem worse or something like
Prolong the issue.
exactly. So it's like, hey, we're making money by demonizing this people. So why not? So, but people recognize it's wrong, and I recognize it's wrong.
Yeah.
So, but now let me profit off of the movement.
Oh yeah, we're starting the next segment with this.
Exactly, because it's like, this is how people think. There will always be people trying to take advantage. And don't get me wrong, truth be told, I'm like, you don't have to be one of those people, but like, to a degree, I am one of those people. I see everything as an opportunity, but morality keeps me from acting on those intentions.
Exactly.
It's the same thing with the prejudices. It's like, I could, it's like, if I wanted to, I could conduct, some, because I've been reading into dark psychology about the psychology of manipulation. If I wanted to, with an unknowing subject, I could potentially use some of these manipulative tactics on them to see how they react for the sake of curiosity. But that's fucked up and bad, so I'm not going to do it. But there's people that will do that.
Yeah.
And if they can get something from, and that's what we have to be wary of.
Usually they're unaware.
Exactly. Stay woke. Know what you know.
Know what you know. Alright, so prolonging the issue. Cole hit on this, and it was like I just got a nice epiphany. I was like, ooh! Like, that's the point right there.
Yeah.
That is the point. And so from a business perspective, we look at the media, right, and like, they present facts, they present truth, but then they twist it, right? They twist it in a business sense, right? And so they'll present maybe like partial truth, and then they'll be like, okay, we'll bring in the stockholders. They'll be like, okay, and then they'll bring in PR, like, okay, how can I make this the most interesting story? How can I grab the most attention? How can this be most socially acceptable, right, at the same time, and
Or sometimes not.
or not.
Because a lot of the times the target is an emotional response.
Yeah.
Because people will
Yeah,
read
yeah.
more about something that they don't like,
Yeah.
and that's where they get you.
Yeah, definitely. And it's they wanna take control over your attitudes. They want to take control of your behaviors, and really get in your mind. They want to have real estate in your mind. But kind of like prolonging the issue, and just really, like, from a business perspective, like when you look at massive events like Black Lives Matter, COVID-19, you can look at Afghanistan right now, or just different types of issues, right? They keep pushing on it, right? And it's crazy because like whatever they push on, everyone else pushes on, right? Like the majority of people, the collective. And even though
we got out of the
we got out of that. We got out of the matrix, all right? So
yeah, that, and also like, I don't know if it was Iraq or Afghanistan, but you know, yeah, we did for 2 days, and we're like, oh, the Taliban's like, hey, let's take over the country.
yeah,
And now we're like, yeah, well, this is AIDS, but we're out, so fuck it.
yeah.
I'm not saying I agree with that, but
I don't know shit
I'm
about
just
it,
saying
so.
that's how it is. Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't have enough knowledge in that area to make a formulated opinion.
yeah.
So take this with a grain of salt.
Biggest grain of salt. Yeah, but kind of like they prolong the issue to continue making profit, right? And so like within this capitalist society, like the goal of every single organization is to make the most money as possible, right? Obviously, it's majority of it is in an ethical way, but a lot of it is not an ethical way,
No,
right?
yeah.
It's like that. It's like that loophole through laws that
Mm-hmm.
you can get around, right? By controlling people's opinions, by controlling the way they see things,
Yes.
controlling their perceptions, and they could be presenting one side of an issue that is not beneficial. It may be beneficial to a certain extent, but it is not the most beneficial side that could really help you or view in the most concluded and consensus view. So my question to you is,
True believers.
true believers, do you find yourself, ask yourself, like when you're viewing things like COVID-19, when you're viewing things like, I'll even ask myself this question: do you have the best viewpoint? How long have you had your perspective? How long have you questioned your perspective? How long have you viewed the other side and felt an emotional reaction to it, and actually objectively looked at it? For example, Cole and I were watching a boxing fight, right? And so this is not related to the prolonging the issue point, but I was thinking about this today, right? And so he was, if you watch the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight, it was a fucking banger of a fight, right?
Tremendous.
A tremendous fight.
I had Tyson all the way.
Yep, and I had Deontay Wilder the whole way, right? And you could see, looking back on it now, we were extremely biased towards.
Absolutely.
Like, but no, like, we did agree on things. We had a discussion, you know, and like.
But I was also, I was actively commenting on the technique, but also there was like, fuck yeah, Tyson beat his ass,
Yeah, and it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's a part of human life, and you could, like, through that we could see, like when I was viewing Tyson Fury, like it would be hard for me to admit, like, oh damn, that was good, and it would be hard for you to admit, like, when Deontay Wilder did good, you know, like with his knockdowns or something like that. And like, don't get me wrong, we recognized it, right?
Yeah.
But it was rather difficult to make that conclusion. Like, once again, I'm not trying to speak for you or anything.
Yeah.
Feel free to disagree with me at any time, but it was like seeing those two heads come at each other shows you, like, that black and white issue, you know, not human skin color wise, but you get what I'm saying. Like,
Black and white thought processes.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like those two things.
Tribalism.
Just
Back
coming
to
at you.
Yeah.
And divide and conquer, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm like, and it's like going back to the whole profiting thing. It's like Steve. I saw this thing about Stephen A. Smith, and it was on kind of one of those like hustle, get money Instagrams, like the kind of inspirational shit. And like, don't get me wrong, this isn't like a bad mindset, but it's kind of an example of like the company man. And he was talking about like how he got to his position of status and how he grinded and shit, but it was like, when I go into work, I think, how can I make the most money for the company? And number two, how can I get some of that money? And it's like, that's the same thing. It's like you see a fucking golden goose that's a dark horse. You know what I'm saying? Like you have a hate movement or a problem with racism, and you you see this fucking golden goose, and there are gonna be ticks latching on. Dark horse is the problem. That's the fucking like systemic racism or whatever. Golden goose is the movement trying to make it better. But there's leeches on the golden goose. Motherfuckers trying to make money. Motherfuckers trying to get something.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to get their hands in the pocket so they can pull out another golden egg.
They're vampires, man.
Yeah. You gotta watch out for motherfuckers trying to reach up your ass and pull out the golden egg. I'm like, I can't not say that, but you get the point.
Yeah. It's like, it's really interesting too, because it's like, wherever attention is the key in business, right? People's attention is everything, right? You could have the best business model, you could have everything in the world, right? If you don't get people's attention to feel like they have a need, right, in order to supply a demand, you're done, right?
Yeah.
No chance. You're not making money.
And kind of spinning off of that, I was thinking about the Wolf of Wall Street. Sell me this pen. And he was talking about it, and he's just like, there's no really good answer for that, but it's how the salesman reacts. They ask questions. They don't know anything about you. They need to know more about you to sell you their product. It's the same with like getting your attention. And algorithms do this just by you using their app. From a cybersecurity perspective, they're storing data on how you work through this app. So they're giving you more of what you want, so you spend more time on their platform.
Yeah, definitely. It's the golden egg, right? That everyone wants, right? And like those fucking leeches on it, right? Like they want it, And it's like, to a certain extent, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, don't get me wrong, like buying products, like materialistic things, like we all love doing that, right? But
I'm gonna cut you off real quick here. Sorry, but the whole deal is like people view money as more than what it is. It's a big thing. It's like because they short circuit the means to an end thing. If the money is a means to an end, because they see themselves like here, and then they see this lifestyle that they want, that they see on TV and shit, something they see that they want, but they know they need money to get there. So they put money right up there with it. They idolize money. But guys like me, I recognize that it's a resource. I don't see it as I don't see I'm here because of money. Like money and the lifestyle are intertwined, but they're not related. I'm here. I think of money as like us building myself a staircase. The lifestyle's up here. Allegedly, or what I want to do is up here. I'm down here. Money is the staircase that I need to get there. It's a resource. I'm stepping on it. It is beneath me, but it elevates me at the same time. People think they hold money up here. Conventionally, from what I've viewed, people put money right up there with dreams. They're connected. They're intertwined. It's an incestuous relationship that they aren't aware of. So they think like, it's coveted, they greed, and there's evil when it comes to that. Just darkness that is begot from this idea, this dream that is poisoned by greed, that is begot by the elevation of the idea of money. And the thing about that is, if you check yourself and come more into my mindset, you'll be free of that. Like, don't get me wrong, I have no money right now. But it is not impeding my lifestyle because I don't know that I'm broke as fuck. It's like I have money's a resource. I don't have a lot of resources right now. Resources do open more opportunities, like we said before, but it's about how to amass resources. It's like how people are changed by when they get money. They become a different person.
Yeah.
I think Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, said it too. It's like money's like alcohol. It makes you more of what you are. And if you're an asshole when you're drunk, you're secretly an asshole. If you're an asshole when you get money, you're secretly an asshole. It's the same principle.
Yeah.
But it's like it's begot by this idolization of money, which is literally a cog in this gear, like in this machine that is the system.
Yeah. Yeah, like we've said it before, like you throw money on a fucking island, like it has no value. It has no intrinsic value. It has no intrinsic worth. But Good point there. I forget what I was saying before, but kind of just like build off that, I guess. Money is definitely a big factor, and we throw this back into the media example, right? Would you rather have the money, or would you rather have the truth, right? The truth can be worth nothing to you, and the money can be worth everything, right? But it's like, would you rather be fair to someone, or would you rather be unequitable and treat them like shit, but get all the money, right? And what do you know? That's a very common dilemma.
That's the thing. It's like, are you willing to sacrifice your morals for money?
Yeah. And what do you know? A lot of people do that, right?
Exactly.
Like, I mean,
then that's the whole thing. It's like the watching Daredevil again. It's like the Kingpin brought up a good point where it's like, there was this cop. Like, he had 2 dirty cops working for him. One of them got fucked up and is in the hospital and might talk, and kind of shit on the whole operation. The 2 dirty cops were friends from high school, or since they were kids and shit. And the cop, the Kingpin was approaching this cop to kill his friend, and he leaned into him and he's like, how many years, or how much is each of those years worth in round figures? To hey, how much do I have to pay you to murder your childhood friend so that I can keep my illicit dealings under wraps? And that's a dilemma that people will face, and that's really where you see character. Money makes you more of what you are. And it's that in that situation, it's like if you decline, someone else will get paid and he'll get whacked anyway. But that's in the theater, it's a story arc to be enjoyed, but it's the same thing applies. It's if you're, that's actually brilliant. I'm gonna say this. It just came to me, but if your morals can be bought with money, then you are a paper man.
Yeah.
And it's it is temptation and nothing more. You have to be above temptation, and you need to hold ideals over temptation.
Yeah, for sure. And another example is I don't know if you ever heard of the example greenwashing, where a lot of companies appear as though so for example, you take Amazon, right? They want to be carbon neutral by 2030, right? But what do you know? Since 2017, their carbon emissions have literally doubled and tripled, and Jeff Bezos literally just made a $10 billion pledge to fixing the environment, but it goes against his complete business model of what he's going to do. So it appears like he's doing a lot, but in actuality, he's not actually doing a lot. Same with Apple, right? All these big organizations are making these pledges, right, to help the environment, but what do you know? They're the biggest contributors to the environment, right?
And slavery. These Nikes were made by somebody in a sweatshop, probably, and it's these are people that that was the whole issue with I think what Trump was saying, Americans don't build their own cars anymore. They outsource them to cheaper labor in other countries, and that diminishes the economy here because we don't have Americans working on these cars.
Yeah.
Because it's more expensive to build them here than it is over there. So over there we can have fucking pretty much slaves do it, and then over here, spend a little extra $1 to get your shit made better.
Cost extra. But yeah, I mean, just check the time real quick. Probably just to finish up. Oh shit. Probably just to finish up real quick. It's when you look at the media, when you look at things like sources of information, really take a step back and question things, and really reflect and contemplate yourself, your friends, the media, who you're watching, your sources of information, and really see if they're getting at that end. Is it a genuine end in itself, right? Or are they using that end that you think it is, and they're shifting it to a means, right, in order to, for example, like Black Lives Matter, they shifted from the goal to the means as a way of generating profit,
Yeah.
right? So, like, are they doing that? And that does not deserve moral credit. That does not deserve your respect. And this is something that if you become aware of, you can not get caught in, because if you do get caught in it, it can cause a lot of distress within you, can cause a lot of negative emotions, and you are the product of these companies. And unfortunately, like, these companies, don't get me wrong, like, they're well-intended people are in these companies, right? They're not bad people. It's the system itself that's the problem, and that has to change, right?
Yeah.
And like what it would change to, I mean, I have a decent idea, like, of things that could help, but like, we got to do this on a collective level.
Yeah. And like, if we're gonna leave you with 3 things, probably to end this podcast with, it's probably number 1, open your mind. You know, don't think of anything as absolute.
Yeah.
We're like, when you see something online that kind of makes you feel insights or emotional reaction, check yourself and kind of see, hey, what would the complete opposite of this be? And let me give a little look into that. Number 2, surround yourself with people that have differing opinions with you, within reason. You don't want to get some preacher who's yelling at you about like how they feel. Like, sensible people, find them, talk to them, ask them why. And actually, that's probably the 3rd one. Ask why. If someone can't give you a valid reason to why they're saying that,
They don't know that they know.
they don't know that they know. Know what you know. Conscious Cast episode 16. Mission accomplished.
You're a goofy goober.